Views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL, but you'll never know unless you stay tuned and listen, and maybe you'll agree, because it's time for the African American Scene. Brought to you by Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie and hosted by the one and only Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. Well, we haven't had a shortage of activities, that's for doggone sure. We're going to continue with our theme, Black History Month, and I have another book that I can give away. It's called Greatness Above the Noise, and it's signed by the author Andy Purvis. Again, thanks to my listener Russ Ainsley. And here is the question. I invented blood plasma, and I helped to create blood banks and laboratories throughout the United States. Who am I?
Ooh, a medical professional.
Yes, a medical professional. I have to tell you, though, you know, one of my callers, and I promised him I would not give his name because he wanted to keep the conversation between me and him, and I will respect that. And he wants me to agree to meet with him and have a dialogue strictly about the basis of Christianity. And I thought about it, and I'm not going to do it. And let me tell you why I'm not. Because he keeps lying to me. And there is something that compels conservatives that they have to lie to get their point across. And the most recent one he made to me was that President Obama went to a Muslim school. I went back, checked it out. 2 seconds later, it was a pants on fire lie. Have you ever seen that?
Liar, pants on fire?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
when it's a pants on fire lie, that means it's like a really egregious lie. So I'm not going to do it. And the reason why is because you can't have a discussion about your Christian beliefs and your belief in Christianity if you also simultaneously will pledge to lies. How you do that? I don't know how you do that. And I just was like, I'm not going to allow myself to get...
Oh, there's all kinds of justification people can make up.
Yeah.
Speculate.
Yeah. And listen, one of the things that I have talked about repeatedly, if you look at what conservatives have said that they admire about people, that they can pick themselves up from nothing and make something out of themselves and be good family people and live a good, solid life, President Obama did that. There's probably not a better example that I can think of in the past few years of the White House than President Obama, with the loving relationship he had with his wife and his kids. But he was just eviscerated by conservatives, and I'm still not sure why.
Well,
and most of the time, when I ask a conservative, why didn't you like him, they really can't give me an answer.
Well, in all my days, in all the presidential inaugurations that I've seen in my entire life, one stands out way above all the rest of them, and that was the inauguration of President Obama. Because never in my life have I ever seen a man hold his head so high. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
When he sat there at his inauguration, he wasn't looking around what everybody was doing or saying or thinking. He wasn't speculating nothing. He held his head high, and even like he was almost in a meditative state. His eyes was closed, but his head was high, and that I'll tell you what, that moved me.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen any president hold their head like that.
He was a very he's an awesome man too.
I think that's enough to really wreck the thought processes of the people that didn't like him.
Listen, I've tried many times, and maybe there's somebody out there that can tell me why they didn't like him, but when I ask them, they really can't come up with anything concrete other than to tell me, as somebody told me recently, he was a Muslim. Well, we know that's not true.
But what do they hate worse than Muslims? Racists. Who do racists hate more than they hate Muslims?
Yeah, well.
See, you know what Obama's crime was?
Yeah.
He was a black man. And
yes, he was.
And he was elected president.
Twice.
And that's where the controversy came from. And all the lies that go along with the controversy, because if you can't beat the argument with the truth, if you lie just a little bit, you might beat the argument, but not when Rudy's checking facts on you.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I think that the irony of it is that most people do not want to admit that was an issue for them. So they just run away from that and say that's playing a race card because it had nothing to do with it. Well, if it didn't have anything to do with it, then tell me why you don't like the guy. Jesus, that's all I'm saying. What don't you like about it? But anyway, so let's and everybody has said we got Steve on line one. Yes, sir.
How you doing, Rudy?
Okay.
You're exactly right. First of all, there's two reasons. One, they hated him because he was a black man. How dare a black man become president of the United States? Okay? Number two is that they had 240-some years of total white dominance, and they screwed it up to the point where it became a disaster, the greatest recession in history. And they didn't like any of that. Obama came in and said, forget that, let's rebuild, let's get going, let's hire, and we started doing it. And, Trump inherited a roaring economy, roaring stock market.
Yes, he did.
And anybody doesn't think that's crazy. And right now, we're rudderless because I'm in the market, I play the market, and I see people in the market right now, and they're confused. They don't know which way we're going in this country because we've had so many. You remember, Trump had 2 years of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. He could have done what he wanted.
Yeah.
He did nothing. And then the pandemic come along. He did nothing except pawn it off on the states. So what he did was he showed people that they could be empowered, and that's what happened. They became empowered. I remember holding meetings in our neighborhood to support Obama and to bring 2 people of our friends to vote with us. So it was a combination of things. But the first thing was, how dare he be black and be president?
Well,
the second thing, I think, was
and if you've heard me before, I've said this, and what happened is when Obama got elected, for the first time in the history of this country, the majority whites did not win the election. He won because the Latins, the blacks, and the Asian pushed him over the top. He never got.
That's right.
He never got over 50% of the vote in either win.
If you look at my writings that I had published 5 years ago, I was saying in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, the minority vote is going to overtake the white vote.
Yes, it is.
And then the white vote will be the minority vote. People said you're crazy. Well, they just saw it.
Yes.
It just hit them. It just happened. And it's going to keep happening because statistically, if you go to the Labor Bureau of Statistics, federal government, statistically, the age group right now, I think they're between 7 and 12. In 10 years, they're all going to be, 70% of them are going to be voters. And there's such a mixed race that the white people will be in third place, basically. So
I don't know if it'll happen.
A lot of adjustment.
I don't know if it'll happen that fast, but
intermarriage.
it's no question it's going to happen. And if you heard,
Well, yeah, you've got
you heard Biden last night say, who would have ever believed? And it's funny he mentioned it last night because my wife and I just mentioned it, talked to ourselves about it the other day. You turn on the TV now, you see so many mixed couples in TV ads. 20 years ago, you wouldn't have saw that.
that's social engineering. You realize that? No, it is. It is. I mean, I studied this in college. This is one of the little tactics they teach at the better schools. Is how to do social engineering, and it's be very honest with you. World War II, it was Joseph Goebbels who perfected it, telling the lie over and over and over and over until people hear it enough where they think it's the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I mean, God, we had rumors that, aliens were running the place. And I've never heard of this democratic infrastructure or whatever, the dark side. I've never heard that one. That one was new.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, well, there's no secret here. All the Klan did was take off their hoods and start carrying torches with the Nazis, called themselves Republicans.
Yeah, it's kind of
there's no secret.
But here's the problem where I think I agree that I think that he blew the cover off of what was contained racial animus. It popped its ugly head up under Trump, and there's people listening now that is going absolutely nuts with me saying it, but it's the actual fact. But while that happened, that doesn't change what the situation is, because people are now in a position where they're kind of fearful of what's ahead. But what I have often said here over the years, and I think we've just seen it again, there's a group of people in the middle that are generally quiet. They're not going to march. They're not going to protest, and they're mostly going to
silent majority.
Yes, they're not going to make much of a noise, but they don't like injustice.
Right.
And I've said that over and over again, and they always prove me to be right. Because if you look now, Biden's popularity rate is well over 50%, and Trump's never got past 50%. And
I don't think anybody has.
Yeah. So, but that silent majority has said, wait a minute, I got to have some sanity. So they got some sanity now, and they're feeling like, I got something here that I can work with. So, but
something that these Republican senators are going to have a hard time explaining when they come up for re-election.
Yeah.
Yes, he did wrong. Yes, he should have been thrown out, but I voted not guilty.
Yeah.
That does. I'm a hypocrite.
Yes.
A vote for me. I mean, that's unbelievable.
It is. It is.
We just told our children, hey, go ahead, be ruthless, be unlawful, be a holy terror. That's okay, because the president can do it and get away with it. Why can't you?
Yeah.
I can't believe they did that. And both of our senators did. And of course, look at our senators. We got Rubio, who escaped from Cuba, then went back, and then escaped again. It's kind of like it was a series. Escape from New York, 1, 2, and 3. And then you got the other guy, the charter hospital or whatever it was, fraud for hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a real winner. So, I mean, Florida is like, you need to wake up, folks.
It's true.
You're about to be trampled on.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't get it. Hey, I'll tell you a little secret. And this wasn't very popular in the academy, but I said it anyway. The only reason we have crime is because we have honest people. And what I mean there is, if I steal your lawnmower, I can't do anything with it unless I can sell it to one of these honest, upright citizens out here that needs a lawnmower, doesn't want to pay retail.
You're stepping on Swap Shop now.
Yeah, right.
I don't care, but I mean, just stop and think about it.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Stop and think about it.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, America has got to take charge of America.
Yeah, agreed.
Each citizen has to say, I'm going to be a citizen for a change and not just an observer.
Yeah.
If they don't, we're doomed. We're done.
Well, thank you, Steve. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
You know what I think? I think the Republican Party and the conservative movement has assumed room temperature.
Yeah.
I think it has, and we're seeing a lot. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if another party emerges.
I think it's possible, but every time that's been tried, it's really not been successful. We've had intermittent candidates be successful on a state level, but to have a national third party, we just haven't seen anybody been able to pull that off yet. Yeah. So, but we'll have to see. And we got Jay. Jay, before I put you on, I just want to make this one other point here. I hope that you were paying attention to what happened when President Biden won the election. He won it by 7 million votes. And to put it in a sports analogy, that's like losing a basketball game by 30 points. That's just a pure butt whooping. So what does that tell you? And this is why I'm trying to get this message to my conservative friends. People don't like your ideas. People don't like your ideas, and you want to keep shoving them down people's throat. They don't like your ideas. They keep rejecting them. And we got Jay on line one. Yes, sir.
Okay, Rudy, glad to hear your voice again. I was just listening to you in the last call, and what you're talking about is very important. And what I think is the real ultimate important is that Biden is on the right track. He's doing everything right. He's got the people behind him. And by the way, it's close to 60 to 50% of people are supporting him right now.
I didn't want to exaggerate.
Yeah, well, it is. It's just about 60 right now. That's what I was watching the news network. They were talking about him. But I'm thinking about Joe Manchin, and I'm thinking about why he's against the filibuster and why he would want to be the impediment of Biden doing everything right now. He's getting this vaccine out. He's doing all that to try to get this thing on, to stop the deaths and stop the COVID-19 spreading all over the place. And they're on the right track. They're going by the numbers. And the next thing they have to do is make sure that they can, because they can't rely on the Republicans. The Republicans are in another, they're in what I call going back to like the Confederacy. They fell backwards instead of going forward in this country. So we can't do anything about that. But Biden can, and he's got. That's why it was so important for those two senators, the one in Georgia, to make them have that the majority. So they got to take advantage of that and get off that filibuster, because that's what the Republicans want. That's what McConnell wants. He wants to be able to stop everything that they did. That's what he did with Obama.
Yes,
with Obama, he did it. It was just like watching paint dry.
Yep.
I was so disgusted. I was getting mad at Obama, but then I figured it out. I figured that this was the game. And why can't Joe Manchin figure it out? He's been in the Senate a long time. He knows these people. And why would he want to why would he want to be the impediment or get in the way of all the things that's going on, and people are suffering out here, and they need all the support and help they can get. I don't know about West Virginia, but I've been through there, and it doesn't look like they have. There's a lot of affluence there.
Well, he won.
I drove through there a couple of times when I was in the military, so
Trump,
I know there's a lot of poor folks there.
There's a lot of
I
poor.
think that they would be very happy to get some relief.
There's a lot of poor white people in West Virginia, no question.
Yeah, I know. I know that. I went through there. But the thing is, it's so sad. I'm listening. I said, they should be all on board. It shouldn't even be a no-brainer. And this guy, I don't know what he's thinking about when he said, "Well, I'm not going to go for those, but for them to eliminate the filibuster." But that's what they're going to have to do if they want to pass the Civil Rights Bill, the Voters' Right Act, and everything else. Besides getting this COVID bill through, so people can have some relief and be able to survive and not lose their homes and be able to have some food in the refrigerator. So I don't know. We got to see, and I'm just hoping that people write and send letters or call up his office and let him know whose side are you on.
Yeah.
Who are you on? What side are you? Are you a plant? Are you a covert operator? Or what's going on with you? And that's what they have to do. They got to put pressure on him. And I think Biden knows how to deal with him, but it's just sad that they're listening to him saying that he would never do it. He would never vote for,
Well, yeah, but you have to. I think Biden can be pretty persuasive, and Biden did something just today or yesterday afternoon when Texas said they needed FEMA help.
Yeah,
he did it right away. He didn't measure to see whether or not it was a state that liked him, like somebody else we know would have done.
Yeah.
He would have first seen if it was a state that supported him or not before he would grant the aid. Biden granted the FEMA support immediately, knowing full well Texas never helped us to make him president, but he did. He lived up to what he said he would do, is he'd be president of everybody, and Texas is hurting now. So he allowed the FEMA money to go there.
Even though they made a lot of mistakes there in Texas, they think that government can't do anything, and they think that everything has got to be by private, by companies. Everything has got to be by the industry, private industry. They got to make their money. The CEO got to get billions of dollars, and he's got to get his money, and all the people invested in the company. That's all they think about. And so now that's how that thing fell apart, because they didn't have the grids and everything else, the electric system. Yeah. All of that was all privatized, and they didn't updo it. They didn't have it set up for a bad weather like this when it goes below zero.
That blew up
below 32 degrees, huh?
It blew up in their face.
Yeah, it blew right. It's just so stupid.
Face, yeah.
And so that's you pay the price when you say, well, we don't need government. We don't need to go do, we don't need to fix this, fix that, infrastructure, none of that. We're not going to spend our money on that. We're going to make sure that we give all our people, raises, and, the ones at the top, and, all the investors make sure that they get their money. That's all we're interested in. So now it came back. Huh?
If there's anything we should have learned from this COVID is we need government.
Yeah, better believe it.
We may not like that government eats up resources, but my God, we need government. Look at the difference between the execution that's taken place under Biden versus the execution that was taking place under Trump. Biden has got together with all the states. He's coordinating with the pharmacies. He's coordinating with the public health centers in the various states to try to get all of the vaccines out there. Trump would have never done that.
He got FEMA. He got FEMA involved also. FEMA, they got the...
Yes, he did.
Got them involved in it and giving out, the vaccines and doing everything and setting it up to give people a shot. So it's just like day and night, and I just want to... It's going to be amazing in the 2 years. I want to see how this, in 2 years, if this continues, how any of those Republicans going to run against, anybody in Congress or in the Senate, the way they're carrying on, like they were, like they're coming over here from another country to invade. That's what gets me. They have to come out with a law also to make domestic terrorism, just like they did Islamic terrorism. They have to make it a law and make it just as strict and make it a lifetime sentence, just like they put those people up there in Guantanamo Bay up there in Cuba. They got to do the same thing to these characters to bring them back down there and let them know who's in charge in this country. They got to do it. They got to do it, man. They have to do it.
I agree. They have got to come down on those people that broke into our Capitol and trashed it and smeared feces. You know, they smeared feces all over some of the offices.
I heard about that.
Yeah. Those guys got to go lock them up in the jail. I mean, that's just that simple.
But it's got to be a law, though. I don't know if you noticed, but I was listening to an FBI agent that comes on a lot on TV. He said that they don't have the law. He said it's not a law like they had with Islamic terrorism. They didn't have it.
That's true.
Domestic terrorism is not a law like Islamic terrorism was when 9/11 happened.
That's
he
true.
Said it doesn't. They got to make a law, and once they make that law, then the law enforcement can go out and infiltrate and do everything they have to do to break them up and to bring all those folks to justice. He said that's what they need to do. He said, but they keep dragging their feet about it, and it's all about white. It's all about white privilege. I'm sorry to tell you, man.
Yeah, well.
It's all about white privilege. Come on.
You don't think I'm going to disagree with you, do you? I'm not going to disagree.
Let you go, man. Take care.
All right. Okay, Jay.
Good old Jay.
Yeah, Jay and Steve. Those two, Steve and Jay, they're my regular callers and listeners. Let me remind everybody that President Biden expanded the open enrollment for Obamacare from February 15th to May 15th. So if you need health insurance, you got laid off and I had been working, a couple people called me right in the beginning and I didn't have all the companies yet. But I do have a couple of companies now doing Obamacare that I'm certified with. So if you need health insurance, give me a call. I can help you. You also have until March 31st, if you have a Medicare plan that you're not happy with and you'd like to change plans, I represent multiple different companies. So give me a call. And if you're not happy with the company, I may have a company that you'd be happier with. For either one of those things, you can call me at my office, 343-9878, 343-9878. Now, my trivia question again. I haven't gotten a caller yet. And for your book, Greatness Above the Noise, signed by the author Andy Purvis. And it's a number of short stories about great athletes that you will enjoy. I have enjoyed reading the stories. It's really, really, really good. I created blood plasma and helped to create blood transfusion centers around the country. Who am I? Blood plasma. I did that. How about that?
And now last week's trivia question, I went ahead and looked it up in seconds. And I'm going to do it now, too. And I'm not going to tell anybody.
Okay.
If anybody wants to try this one, it's a good one.
Yeah. All right. So now let's just let me get back to one of the things I was saying with Steve, and I was saying it also to Jay. Let me make this point. And I made this point with one of my conservative friends, and he strongly disagreed with me. You want to force your ideas on the majority. You are not the majority. I don't know when you're going to get that in your head. You've lost 7 out of the 8 last popular votes for the last presidential elections. You won 1 out of 8 where you won the popular vote. Okay? And that includes even his loss to Hillary. He lost the popular vote by 3 million votes. So what is that telling you? What I'm trying to get you to understand is that you need to move closer to people. So rather than trying to shove your agenda down our throat, which you haven't been very successful at, why don't you become a real politician and try to work within the confines of the system and come up with a way to win us over? You can do that. The Democrats did it when they won over the Republicans, and you've heard me talk about this before, and I'm going to say it again. All of my father and his friends, they were all Republicans. The Democrats went about the process of trying to win those black people to the Democratic Party, and they were successful. There's no reason why you could easily, and I've told you this, I've been on here for almost 10 years, and I've been telling you this for almost 10 years. You could win black people to the Republican Party. It is not impossible, but you can't do it the way you guys do it. Just can't. You can't, because you turn people off, and they will not support you under the kind of circumstances that you are in right now. But you can do it. It can be done. And I told you about another book, and I'm going to recommend this book for you. And J.C. Watts, who was in leadership in the House, and like everything else where there's color involved in the Republican Party, cast him aside, just like they did Michael Steele. Cast Michael Steele aside, too. And I thought Michael Steele, while I disagree with Michael Steele a lot philosophically regarding policy, but I have the utmost respect for him as a person. I think he's forthright, and it would not be beyond the realm of possibility that I could vote for Michael Steele. I could tell you that right now, that's for sure. But anyway, so the thing that I keep telling you, you can do this. You can do this. But tell me, why do you think people descended upon the Capitol? They were frustrated. They had been lied to. They had been lied about the fraud of the vote. And he was very persuasive. He kept telling them it was going to happen before it even happened. And then, once the votes were in, and let me just tell you this one thing, because this is the one that he likes to cite a lot, Pennsylvania. Part of the reason why he went to bed at night and he was ahead when Pennsylvania passed its law about mail-in voting, they wouldn't allow the votes to be counted until after the polls closed. In Florida, they allowed you to count the votes as the votes come in. So when Trump went to sleep at night, the votes had not all been counted. So while the votes were counted while he was asleep, the outcome changed. It was legitimate, but it was caused because they would not allow the votes to be counted along the way. Now, had they been able to count the votes along the way, it wouldn't have been the morning surprise, but it really wasn't a surprise anyway, because the votes that came in were the votes from the Philadelphia area. And if you know anything about Philadelphia, is where I was born. That's about as Democrat as New York City. Philadelphia and New York City are bastions of a Democratic leadership. It don't get much more Democratic than that. But I want you to think about ways that you could come up with that might be able to win other people to your point of view. Maybe you don't want to. And maybe that's the problem. You want to stand on your principle for what you believe, and then you want to try to force all of us to buy into that. That's not going to happen. You should see by now that that's just not going to happen. So you're going to have to come up with more and more schemes and more tricks and more deceptions in order to have people vote on your behalf. That's not a way. That's not our way. This republic was created on a fundamental ideal. And that ideal is the person who has the best ideas is the person that gets voted into office. Now, is that a little idealistic? Okay. Yeah, maybe so, but that's the way it's supposed to work. So if you have the best ideas and you present those ideas to people, then you win. If you don't have good ideals, then you lose. That's the way the system is supposed to work. That's the way the system was designed to work. So sometimes when you see upsets, as the case was with AOC in New York, she presented some ideas that the guy who had been there for like 8 years did not have to offer. So as a consequence, she won. And then she's won re-election. So it is about your ideas. If you got the best ideas, you can win. But if you are trying to force your ideas on other people, it creates resentment. And then you get frustrated because you think you've been cheated because people don't agree with you, but they don't agree with you because you're not talking to them. You're not presenting them with ideas that is consistent with who they are. Can you see that? Can any of you conservatives out there listen to me see that? That you have to offer people ideas that are consistent with their values?
Don't forget now, the leadership in the conservative movement is gone. It started with the death of Roger Ailes, who was the CEO of Fox News. And today, the last great conservative leader, Rush Limbaugh, has died now. So there is no reputable conservative leadership anymore. It's a thing of the past now. It's history.
Yeah.
Proven history.
Yeah. But here's what we have to do, though. Here's a really important point. And I think I talked about this last week. We got to get back to some semblance of truth. We got to stop with the conspiracy theories. You know, the conspiracy theories are bad, and they create angst. And in me, I can tell you, they create anger. I sometimes really lose my temper when people are trying to sell me on stuff that I know is a flat out lie. And that's not good. That's not good for us as a country. You can come up with, if you come up with an idea and you come up with a policy, I may disagree with it, but if it's an opinion or a policy, one of my persons that I communicate with on it, he sent me something earlier today that I disagreed with fervently, but it was not a cranked up idea. It was a philosophy that they attempted to make a presentation about a philosophy on racism that I happen to disagree with. But it wasn't a quacky, outright trumped up piece of information. So I can debate with that because, you know, you can talk about the merits of what it is that they had to say. And that's fine. And we can debate the merits as long as there's an element of truth that we're dealing with. Again, my trivia question: for the greatness above the noise, a signed copy by the author Andy Purvis. I created blood plasma and helped to develop blood labs and transfusion places around the country. Who am I?
And remember, It's a Black History Month question, so there's a clue. You might not like that fact about the medical type of guy that it would take to be able to create blood plasma. You know, you might find it appalling, but the truth is like that. You can't. The truth is unarguable, and that's why conspiracy theories, people find them so much fun, is because there's just enough truth in there to make you want to believe the rest of it. And
sometime this stuff is like, you know, when they say it, when you apply the logic to it, you know that. Like, I'll give you a good example. Early on in the COVID, somebody was propagating the idea that the COVID came from 5G. Did you hear that one? That the 5G towers was creating COVID.
I didn't hear that. What I heard was long before they came, that they can be a cancer risk, and you should be cautious if you're nearby. But the COVID coming from the 5G towers, now that's downright silly.
It's
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. There's a lot of people out there that believed it. I had a family member send me something about that, and I called him up and I said, "Now come on. Now I want you to think about this just for a sec. Just think it through. Biologically, what is a virus?"
Right. It's not an electron. It's not data.
Right. Just think about what a virus is. How that virus is going to jump out of that electronic signal into your body and infect your body and give you COVID. Now think about that.
Now, there could be a radiation factor or something like that makes them the threat of possible cancer from them. But you see, that's still in the speculative stage. There's going to be theory.
That's right.
A hypothesis and theory, and it doesn't become a fact until it's scientifically proven.
Right.
But that doesn't stop people from announcing it and shouting it from the housetops.
That's true.
Because
That's true.
they'll listen to you if you're shouting from the rooftops. They want to hear what you're saying.
But I presented that to my family member, and they said, "Yeah, I think you're probably right. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense." No, it doesn't. I mean, I took the basic sciences, and all the basic sciences tell me that's just not a possibility that you could get a virus.
No.
You could get some kind of damage from the microwaves, but a virus? No, you can't get a virus that way. But the point of the matter is, and this is what's so problematic in our country, somebody will keep saying that and saying it and saying it and saying it, and eventually there'll be people that will believe it. Now, you have people saying that he was saying that there was voter fraud. No evidence of voter fraud in any amount that could possibly make a difference in the election. Now let me make this very clear. I would bet in every election that's happened in the last 50 years, there might be a case of a inappropriate vote here or there. But when you say voter fraud, you're talking about a massive exercise that could overturn the results or change the outcome of an election.
And you couldn't hide it because it would be so massive that there'd be no way it could be hidden.
Exactly. You couldn't hide it. That's the whole point.
You know, we've heard about some little sporadic things that would happen here and there. You know, a couple of people who would vote twice, and you know,
Yes.
or something like that. Yeah, there's always been stuff like that.
Yes. Yes.
But it would have to be a massive coordination.
Yes.
Of unbelievable proportions to where it would be obvious to find evidence would probably be very easy if it were so.
Well, yes, you're right. If there was massive voter fraud,
And I'm not an investigator. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. It's just
but you're thinking.
yeah. Well, see, that's the thing.
And that's I mean, you're thinking.
I was talking on Careology last night with Roxy and her friends, and I told them, I said, we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should listen twice as much as we talk.
Correct.
Because most people just need to be listened to for a few minutes, just a few, from children up to adults.
And I've got to take some time to listen to Roxy too. I need to see Roxy. Her and I had a parting of the ways that wasn't nice a couple years ago, and we should put that behind us because I still admire the work that she does a great deal.
Careology is the science of caring.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
She opened my eyes when I had her on the show, and she described to me some of the people that she was working with. And I've tried to tell people since then that your idea of what homeless is much different than the reality. So, and that's the important thing that I got from having her on my show. That's for sure. People that went to work every day and were living in tents. That's a pretty amazing situation there for sure. And we got a caller on line 1. Yes, sir.
Hey, John.
Rudy, can you hear me okay? I can barely hear you.
Yes, John. How are you, my friend?
I'm hanging in there, Old age is not for sissies.
Amen.
I don't have much. Did they answer the question about, was the question who discovered blood plasma?
Yes.
Well, I read that and over 20 years ago, and the sad part is, you know how he died?
Yes.
In front of a hospital after a bad accident in Georgia, and they wouldn't admit him.
That's correct.
How about that?
That's what I read a long time ago. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
That's true.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's true.
Yeah. The other thing is,
You're not going to
I
tell me
wanted
who
to
it
talk
is?
to you.
You're not going to tell me who it is? So
No, I don't remember his name. I didn't Google it. But
Okay.
I've Googled it more than once over the years, but I haven't recently, and I don't remember.
Okay, all right. So what else were you going to say?
I wanted to talk to you tomorrow. Car and house insurance.
Okay.
Can you help me with that?
I certainly will give it my best.
Well, what time are you planning on being in the office?
I'll be in the office any time after 9.
Okay, I'll give you a call.
Okay, all righty.
All right.
All right.
Thanks
take care.
very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, John.
He's right. Not many people know that other part.
They wouldn't let him get a blood plasma transfusion or something because of their own racism. They didn't realize he was the guy that made it possible.
That's right.
Wow. There ought to be a heap pile of shame upon that whole generation for that. That's a mess.
And there'll be people that will say, that are listening right now, that'll say, well, that was so long ago. What's the point of bringing that up?
Yeah, just cover it up and pretend it never happened.
Exactly. Yeah. What's the point of even telling us that? Well, let me just say this, and I'm gonna tell you
A
this.
cure for intellectual laziness?
Here's what I'm going to tell you, because I told this to my associate earlier today. Part of the construct of a human is self-esteem. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you have strong self-esteem, it allows you to avoid situations where you would otherwise be too weak to say no. And if you have strong self-esteem, it allows you to get up when you get knocked down, because that self-esteem comes within. So how do you get that? You get that by understanding who you are and where you come from, and that is part of the building blocks that helps to make you who you are.
That sounds like the same formula for peace within.
Yeah. So, if you, so here's why Black History Month is so important. You get a chance for kids to understand something about the contributions that Black people made in this country to help it become the success that it is. And that translates into positive energy for them. Just like I told you before, one of the little known facts that came out of President Obama's presidency, Black high school graduation rates went up. And it was nothing more than they could see. They saw him and said, that's possible.
Yeah.
As opposed to in the past, that wasn't even a thing that you would put in your mindset as being possible. So all of a sudden they see him and they say, that's possible. And you got to remember, some kids for 8 years knew nothing else but seeing a positive Black role model. So that can have a profound effect on the construct of one's person. And that's why Black History Month is so important for us to know. And then I also happen to believe, and I know we're getting to the end of the hour, it is helpful for my white brothers and sisters to know about the contributions that we made to this country, because it'll have an effect on how you see me. How you see me. Do you see me as an integral part of America? I hope you do, because I have been, and we have made all kinds of contributions that are important, such as the one that you did not guess was Charles Drew.
Charles R. Drew. Wow.
Who also happens to be my fraternity brother.
Ooh.
Charles Drew is one of my fraternity brothers too. So, but that's important. But I would like to thank you guys so much for listening to the African American scene and allowing me to talk to you and spend some time sharing my thoughts. And I'd like for you to be safe. God bless. And I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American scene.
The African American scene, presented each Wednesday evening at this time, between 6:05 and 7, by Howard Insurance of Port St. Lucie. What's that phone number, Howard Insurance, Rudy?
343-9878.
343-9878. And talk to Rudy about your insurance. I do that. And always remember, this is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, on Google Home, Alexa, and the TuneIn app on your smartphone.